In recent days, headlines and online videos have claimed that former U.S. President Donald Trump has been blindsided by a federal judge. We have breaking news regarding a controversial White House ballroom project. Reports are suggesting that construction on the site has won. But what is actually happening inside the courtroom, and how accurate are these claims? To understand the situation, it's important to look beyond dramatic headlines and examine the legal facts. The controversy centers around a proposed large-scale ballroom project planned for the White House complex. The project is intended to add a new event space, replacing part of the historic East Wing that was previously demolished
as part of broader renovations. Supporters of the project argue that the White House lacks adequate space for large official events and that the new ballroom would modernize the complex while improving security and functionality. Donald Trump has publicly supported the project, stating that planning and material orders were already underway and that the project was too far along to reverse. However, the plan quickly drew criticism from historic preservation groups and legal watchdog organizations. At the center of the legal challenge is the National Trust for Historic Preservation, a nonprofit organization that works to protect historically significant sites across the United States. The group filed a lawsuit in federal court arguing that the ballroom project violated multiple federal laws designed to protect historic landmarks and ensure transparency in government construction projects. According to the lawsuit, the Trump administration failed to complete required environmental assessments, bypassed federal design review procedures, and moved forward without proper congressional approval. Preservationists argue that the White House is one of the most historically sensitive properties in the country, and any major structural changes should be subject to strict legal oversight. The lawsuit asks the court to pause construction until all legal requirements are met. This is where many viral claims begin to distort the facts. A federal judge reviewed the request for an immediate halt to construction. During early hearings, the judge expressed concern about certain procedural issues, but made one point very clear. At this stage, the court was not convinced that immediate and irreversible harm had been proven. As a result, the judge declined to issue an emergency order stopping construction outright. Importantly, this does not mean the lawsuit has been dismissed. The judge allowed the case to continue, signaling that further legal review is needed. He also cautioned that early underground construction decisions should not lock in final above-ground designs, indicating that the scope of the project could still change depending on the court's findings. In short, construction has not been officially halted, but it is also not legally settled. Donald Trump responded forcefully to the lawsuit, calling it unnecessary and politically motivated. He stated publicly that materials had already been purchased and that stopping the project would be costly and disruptive. Trump's legal team argues that the renovation falls within executive authority and that security considerations justify expedited construction. They also maintain that the project does not permanently damage the historic character of the White House and that oversight requirements are being met. This legal clash highlights a broader tension in American governance, the balance between executive power and legal oversight. Federal law requires that major construction projects on historic sites undergo environmental and architectural review. These procedures are designed to prevent irreversible damage and ensure public accountability. However, presidents have historically exercised wide discretion over White House renovations, creating legal gray areas that courts must now examine. The judge's role in this case is not to decide whether the ballroom is aesthetically appropriate or politically popular, but whether the legal process was followed correctly. Despite this nuance, online commentary has often framed the situation as a dramatic judicial rebuke of Trump, or as proof that construction has been stopped. Neither interpretation is fully accurate. What we are seeing instead is a standard legal process unfolding. The court is reviewing evidence, hearing arguments, and determining whether federal law was properly followed. Until a final ruling is issued, the project exists in a state of legal uncertainty. This uncertainty has fueled speculation across social media platforms, where dramatic language often outpaces verified facts. Terms like ballroom from hell and construction halted generate clicks, but they oversimplify a complex legal dispute. For viewers trying to understand what is really happening, the key point is this. No final decision has been made. Construction has not been permanently stopped, but it has not been given full legal clearance either. Future hearings will determine whether the project must be modified, delayed, or allowed to proceed as planned. The outcome could set an important precedent for how historic federal properties are altered by future administrations. This case also reflects the increasingly litigious nature of American politics, where policy disputes frequently end up in court. As executive actions face greater scrutiny, judges are often asked to decide questions that blend law, history, and politics. For Donald Trump, the lawsuit represents yet another legal challenge tied to his continued influence over American political life. Even outside office, Trump remains a central figure in legal and political debates. For preservationists, the case is about protecting historical integrity and enforcing existing laws. And for the public, the challenge lies in distinguishing between verified legal developments and exaggerated online narratives. As this case moves forward, one thing remains clear. Dramatic headlines should be treated cautiously. The courtroom process is slow, procedural, and evidence-based, not instant or theatrical. In conclusion, while claims that Trump was blindsided by a judge have elements of truth in terms of judicial scrutiny, suggestions that construction has been fully halted are misleading. The legal battle continues, and the final outcome remains uncertain. As always, staying informed means following verified court decisions, not viral speculation.